the thing is on. Okay, I feel like we have a lot to pack in this one though. Okay,
we really
starting November, we wanted to lighten it up a little and talk about TV and movies and how they've ruined us, or, you know, how they've influenced us. So for this week, we want to talk strictly rom-coms, chick flicks, and more specifically, how the storylines make us women feel like, oh, I have to go look for that, or, oh, that's going to work out for me, you know, or, oh, this is how you find a partner. So I feel like the biggest example would be the Carrie and Big Sex in the City relationship. And for those like Camille who haven't seen it yet, Sex in the City is about like forcing girls in New York. But the Carrie and Big storyline is that they date, she wants him to commit and he doesn't, and she's like, he's her one true love. And so throughout all of her relationships, she doesn't think they compare to Big, and she secretly harbors a love for him, blah, blah, blah. He gets married, she has other relationships, they're serious. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, at the end they do get together. So I feel like this storyline is kind of tricky, because women out there may be like, oh, I dated this guy, he's the love of my life, we didn't work out, but I'm gonna hang on and he's my big, because you hear women saying that. So I don't know, I feel like that was a great story to watch, but is it realistic? And does it make women feel like, I'm just gonna hang on to this hope that this guy who didn't want me before is gonna want me later on? You know what I mean?
Right.
Thoughts?
So I don't know if I'm the right person to have this conversation with, or maybe I am, because I love rom-coms for what they are. I can take them for what they are, a fantasy.
But are they realistic?
Nice story. I do not think they are. Like, I feel like, as a person in a relationship, and maybe one day I'll tell you my story or share it with the people, but I feel like there's some truth to it in terms of like the feeling that you get, but I think that what people forget is that this is all it's exacerbated, it's animated, it's blown up, it's hyperbolic, because it's for entertainment, right? Like it has, and they're trying to fit, like, especially for the Sex and the City movie, or for movies like The Notebook, like these things are condensed into an hour and a half or like 30-minute episodes, you know what I mean? To get the effect and the impact of what would happen over like years or months or whatever. So no, I don't think they're realistic, but I do think that there is a truth element to them. But the damage, you know, like as you said in the beginning, TV and how it's ruined us or influenced us, is that I do think that a lot of women take it as, you know, law, almost love law, and kind of follow it to a T and be like, well, I'm Carrie, and like I can totally relate to her, and like, yeah, that's how I feel. Like there's this one guy who, whatever, like, you know, I see that all too much, I feel. And like, it's common where the guy's just not into you. Like there's actually a movie about it called He's Just Not That Into You. So for anyone who's like into this like rom-com lifestyle thing, like please watch the movie He's Just Not That Into You, because it's kind of eye-opening. It's another rom-com too, but like it kind of takes an interesting approach. I think it's safe to say, like, if someone's into you, like they're gonna show it. Yeah, like I don't know.
And I think it's a good point that you bring up, that everything's exaggerated. Like the girl who like just is head over heels and just can't live without. And for me, watching those movies, because I like rom-coms too, but I'm like, oh shoot, I've never felt that way. Like I've never been head over heels, and like I've never had butterflies when I kissed a guy. Anon, but like
but everyone else,
and it was like the one time. So a part of me is like, oh no, according to the movies, am I broken? Am I not a woman? Do I not feel
I'm doing this wrong?
Exactly. So I think there is
100%.
a good point made that like they exaggerate it, and that's not how real women feel. But I do also know some women who do feel that way. Um,
Yeah.
but as someone who doesn't feel that hard watching these movies, it's like, shoot, I'm doing it wrong.
I'm 100% with you. I definitely, my dating life went very differently than the rom-coms dictate. And from a butterfly perspective, don't get me wrong, I've had them. I think more so when I was like in middle school, high school, and just started dating though. So, and I think the butterflies more so came from like the new experience,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
right? And like the just kind of like the nostalgia and of early romance, and like looking back, just thinking about like how I felt in the moment. It's a new guy, it's a new type of guy. Like I think that those were where the butterflies came from, right? From life experience, not so much the guy looking back. And now, or as I got, and as I got older, obviously, like you said, butterflies with my current love of my life. But before him, like in my adulthood, like it was what it was. Like we're dating, like we're having sex, like you know what I mean. Like it was very, and there, don't get me wrong, like there was something fun in that for me. Like there was something in that for me. It just wasn't love. It wasn't butterflies. And I had to distinguish that for myself. Like I very much like you, Irene. Like I did feel because of some of these movies that I was watching, like maybe there's something wrong with me. But as I've been told time and time again, I am a Samantha. So
One of the characters on SATC.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I
She
think
doesn't. She lives by her own rules.
right. And I don't think movies highlight that, prototype enough. But I
Sure.
think more importantly, rather than being like movies are terrible, um, I think it's just to highlight that um, it's just not indicative of different types of women, right? Because I would hate for a girl to have already met the love of her life, but not feel those like crazy feelings that she sees in rom-coms, and then like pass it off and think, well, let me just keep looking because I didn't feel it with this guy. So I think that's the only danger of like really letting a show or a movie dictate your life. But I mean, I think everyone watches movies with a grain of salt, knowing like this may not be reality, but
Yeah, maybe now because we're like 30 plus, right? Like, so, but I do think that there's
right.
people in their 20s, that do very much, especially with Instagram being a thing. Like, Instagram is the source for a lot of people's like insecurities. I feel like obviously there's a lot of great things that social media does, but in this regard, I feel like they kind of um, complement the message of movies because it's the highlight reel, right? Like everyone's posting
Yeah.
their man crush Monday every day, and like their boo or whatever people are saying these days. But there's these seemingly perfect relationships on Instagram that people are trying to mimic, that I feel are supportive and complementary to these rom-coms.
Yeah. Which again feeds into how it could be misleading for someone who's in a great relationship, but who doesn't mirror what they're seeing. Um,
Exactly,
yeah.
because it's
Because,
not all rainbows and butterflies. Like it's really not.
right.
Like
Yeah. And
love is an
relationships look
action.
different. Exactly. And relationships look like super different. Um, yeah. That was like another thing. Like, um, Anon and I are pretty independent people separately and in a relationship. And we both knew that about each other. Um, had we not like discussed it, then it would have felt like, well, do you even want to be with me? And like, you just want to spend time by yourself and you just want to spend time by yourself. Whereas if you watch movies, it's like, oh, I want to spend every waking moment with you. But like, so that's what I mean by relationships just look different. You don't have to look like, it can still be a great relationship if it doesn't look like that, or if you're not up each other's butt all the time, or.
Literally, yeah. And you and I had this conversation actually, like around the time that we met. It's like explaining our relationships to each other, like how it works. Because we talked about traveling without our significant others. And it's like,
Yes.
oh, like would so and so be okay with that? Would Justin be okay with that? Would Anon be okay with that? And we're like, yeah, like why wouldn't they be? And then that kind of like opened up another dialogue because talking to other people, and I'm sure you get this question often, it's just like, well, what about Justin? Like, wouldn't he care? And I'm just
Yeah.
like, yo, like Justin understands what I need from my life, and
Right.
he's there to support it. And me
Yeah.
traveling to another country has nothing to do with my relationship. Like I'm not trying to escape it. I'm trying to do stuff, like especially like we have businesses and stuff that we're trying to, like I need to go to China one year. If he doesn't want to come, like I still need to go. Like
Right. Yeah. And like practically, well,
so
he has work and I'm off, like, so, it just works out like that. So yeah,
exactly.
like it doesn't, there's one prototype of romantic relationships that's portrayed in TV because it's the most fun to watch. But if you're a young couple or a young single and you feel like, well, I haven't found that I saw on TV, like definitely look outside the box because it
Yeah.
doesn't always look like that. And it doesn't always
Yeah.
feel like that.
Absolutely. Part of the reason why I like Sex and the City, even though I never watched it, I've watched the movies, I've seen a couple of episodes here and there. One of the things that I do know is that because there's 4 different women, I do
Yeah.
appreciate that there are 4 different women
Yes.
in terms of like how they live their lives. So I like that there's different narratives as to how like the relationships can go. Like Samantha's a big one for me because like she was just the most different, I feel, out of all of them. With her lack of relationships, her many casual relationships, stumbling upon a guy who she felt like she fell in love with, but wasn't quite sure, tried it out, and realized that she needed to stay true to herself, and be single and just kind of do her
Yeah.
own thing. So I feel like, Carrie's a great character, but you're absolutely right. Like there are other narratives out there, not as prominently displayed, but you have to pay attention to them.
Right.
Like for Sex in the City, just pay attention to the other 3 storylines as much as
Yeah.
possible, because not everyone
Yeah.
gets married.
Exactly. And I agree. That's what they did like really well for that show, that they were able to highlight different types. And Samantha broke the mold. Like she pretty much told like Hollywood that there's another type of girl we should highlight. She's really drawing in viewers. Like, let's do more of her. Really random, but for some reason you saying that made me think of the Disney movie Frozen. Like, according to Disney's track record, right? It's always like princess falls in love with prince, they get married and blah, blah, blah. But like what I loved about Frozen was that at the end of the first one, and I've only seen it once, so correct me if I'm wrong, but at the end of the first one, it's like, it highlighted like the sister bond instead of like the guy. I forget exactly how it ended, but yeah, like it wasn't a traditional love story. And I was like, yes, thank you. Because, like us feminists, like we've had enough of the girl falling in love with guy prince saves her. Like that's great.
Yeah.
We seem to love that. Women seem to love the wanting to be saved thing, but like not everyone's gonna save us. Sometimes we gotta save our damn selves.
Yeah. And not all of us want to be saved by other people. Some of us really do want to save ourselves. And like, It would be nice, you're right, to see more of that out there, especially in a world where we're trying to realign ourselves with a more feminine focus, more feminine support. Like, the hero isn't always the patriarchy. Sometimes the hero is the women,
Yes.
So
exactly.
Absolutely.
Love.
I got to rewatch Frozen because I want to see that. I am all for Sister Bond highlight.
Am I remembering it correctly?
I think you are, because I don't even know the name of the guy in it. I know Olaf, the snowman.
Yeah.
And I know Anna and Elsa, and I don't know the other dude, so I'm sure there's a reason why I don't know his name. And I think you're right. I think it's because it's not about him. It's about
Yeah.
them.
I'm trying to think of like how it ended. Oh, got it. Okay. I think this is the ending of Frozen. Okay. So like the brown-haired girl, not the Ice Queen, the brown-haired girl was like about to die, right? And they're like,
Oh.
oh, well, her love needs to save her. So they all thought it was the guy. But then the guy like went to kiss her or whatever he did and didn't save her. And then it was like, oh, her true love, like who she really loves or her true bond or something. They found out it was a sister, and I think that's what saved her. Again, I've only seen it once, made me cry, but I think that
That's
was
so sweet. Oh wow, that's good. That's a good
But that's
one.
also like kudos to Disney for not like making yet another princess story.
Yeah,
Like typical princess story.
for sure. I know that it's interesting because they've expanded their brand a little bit more. I'm gonna start digging around for these different narratives.
Yeah. I mean, that's not to say that I don't love me a rom-com. Like, I definitely do. Even though I know exactly how the story's going to go. Like, girl is single. She looks like a doof. Looking for a guy. Gets a makeover. Falls in love with guy. Happily ever after. Like, that predictability I really like.
Okay, but you said something that just really made me think of, like, okay, She's All That, like that type of movie.
Yeah.
Right? That's dangerous for another reason, because like it's Rachel Lee Cook. She's
right.
like in the 90s, she's it. Like, you know what I mean? The short hair, the cool style, like girl next door almost look. She's super hot. But you throw thick rimmed glasses on her and paint covered overalls, and all of a sudden she's this unattractive nerd.
Right.
Like, so what does that mean for all the other people who never looked like either of those things in high school? Right? If they were thicker, if they were taller or whatever, like it, I don't think I understood the message of it, and maybe these movies are just not meant to be deep, but it was you know what I mean? But it was a good message. I felt like it was a decent message, but like the nerd, they could have done a lot better. I would prefer like they did something similar with a current movie called The Duff, the designated ugly fat friend. That's what Duff stands for.
Was that a term for you growing up? It definitely was. Like, really? Okay. We definitely said like, that's her Duff.
No way.
We as in like the generations in the 90s, like it was a thing.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's so terrible, but I feel like I saw that on Netflix. But go ahead. What's the Duff about?
It's similar to She's All That, where like this guy is trying to get with some girl, but in the midst of it, he falls in love with the Duff, because he goes through the Duff to get the other girl, I believe. I can't really remember. Something along those lines. But him and the Duff end up falling in love. You know, and he's like a really hot jock, like, you know, super, super sexy, whatever. And she's like Mae Whitman. She's a beautiful girl, but from a traditional perspective, or what we know to be traditional in Hollywood, she just doesn't fit like that skinny mold, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I just thought that was really, really interesting.
Yeah.
That was a more real take on She's All That for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that.
It was good. It was good. Check it out. Yeah, I liked it. I like that sort of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, but then like you have, I think you're right, the younger, like 20s and below, the more impressionable people who haven't really come into their identity yet, and they're like, oh, I'm the Duff, but I'll get the guy. You know what I mean? So it's just like, what are these movies doing on impressionable minds?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, it's entertaining, but like, just keep in mind, not really reality.
Not real, yeah.
Yeah, not the norm. Such a good topic, I think.
It is. I love it.
We have a couple of minutes. Oh, no, just a couple of seconds.
Couple of seconds.
We can do an outro.
All right, let's wrap it up then. Yeah, like, was there ever a movie that you watched or rom-com specifically that you watch that impacted your life. Let us know. If there's one that you keep watching over and over again that you just can't get over, or one that you feel just really shaped the way that you view love, let us know in the comments. I'm down for a movie marathon. It's fall over here in Toronto, so things are getting cold. I'm getting cozy on my couch. I could use some movie recommendations.
Yeah. Start with Sex in the City.
I
Binge
will.
watch it.
That's true. And there's a lot of seasons. I love things with a lot of seasons, so I'll be sure to check it out.
Let us know below which movies you like. Bye guys. See you next week.